everyone, my name is Hadi Ashfaq and I will be presenting my case today, which is on the landmark Supreme Court case, and this is Gibbons versus Ogden from 1824, and this is a decision that fundamentally shaped the regulation of the interstate commerce in the United States. So let's go ahead and begin. Here you go. We're going to begin with our citations for this case. And the full title is Gibbons v. Ogden, decided by the United States Supreme Court on March 2nd, 1824. And the case citation is 22 U.S. 1. Chief Justice John Marshall presided over this case and was delivering the court's opinion. There you go. All right. So for some background context, I think it's important to kind of explain where kind of this case came from. So in the early 19th century, America was undergoing rapid changes in transportation, and they had steamboats revolutionizing how people would kind of import and export goods. And then states like New York began regulating their own waterways and granting different monopolies to private operators, which raised a lot of questions about who had ultimate authority over interstate commerce. And this was definitely like a discussion between individual states or the federal government. So the Commerce Clause in the Constitution, which is specifically Article 1, Section 8, became like the focal point of this debate in this case. And I'm going to go over the facts of this case. So the state of New York granted Aaron Ogden an exclusive license to operate steamboats within its waters, but at the same time, Thomas Gibbons held a federal license at the same time that allowed him to operate steamboats along the same routes that Ogden did. So naturally, this led to a sort of competition where Ogden sued Gibbons, claiming that this was violating his state-granted rights. And Gibbons, on the other hand, also argued the same thing, that his federal license from the Commerce Clause overruled any conflicting laws. So initially, the lower courts sided with Ogden, upholding New York's monopoly. So the key question is, the key constitutional question states, does this law granting exclusive navigation rights conflict with the federal government's authority to regulate interstate commerce under the Commerce Clause? So in this case, the decision was that the Supreme Court ruled, see so you can see it, unanimous. It was a 6-0 decision, and it ruled in favor of Gibbons. And the justices declared New York's law unconstitutional, emphasizing that it was conflicting with federal government's powers under the Commerce Clause. And this case reinforced that the principle of federal law takes precedence over conflicting state laws when it comes to interstate commerce. And then, so for some reasoning as well, the court's reasoning was delivered, again, as I mentioned, by Chief Justice Marshall. And the first point was that the Commerce Clause grants Congress exclusive authority to regulate commerce between states. And the second point was that the term commerce was interpreted broadly to include navigation and transport and export-import of goods. And third, the state laws of New York cannot interfere with federal commerce regulations. So these are kind of the reasonings summarized in 3 points. And this established the federal government's supremacy in the matters of interstate commerce, and this kind of cleared like a boundary between state and federal powers. And lastly, societal impact. I think this is a good thing to mention as well. The decision between this case came at a time when America was definitely expanding westward and interstate was booming. And this was kind of when import and export was a big thing. It started to become a big thing. So the rise of steamboats was rapidly changing how transportation worked. So this created more efficient movement of goods and people. However, states were trying to control navigation within their borders, and this led to jurisdictions and different conflicts as well. So this ruling kind of resolved all those conflicts under that kind of bubble and asserted federal authority over interstate commerce. And this kind of laid a groundwork for a unified national economy. And this ensured that commerce between states was not really hindered by inconsistent state laws. So this kind of flattened that issue out. And then lastly, I think it's important to go over my sources, which are shown on screen and it's in my presentation. I can read that off really quickly. We have the information of the Gibbons case itself. We have the United States Supreme Court records, the biography of John Marshall and the Commerce Clause overview. And these are some sources that I pulled online, and more information can be shown on my slides. Thank you.